And here, let me do this. Let me put some little bit of music. Okay. All right. So I'm going to make sure it's going, and I'm on your page. I was looking at all your posts. There it is. Okay, here we go. Let me tag you. Yeah, I like that post. I saw that. I think like the second one down. I share a lot of posts in Soulogy, like 200 or 300 a day, and
Yeah.
I'm starting to do like those little reels, and I think I shared that one. I just tagged you, so it should be on your page. The one where the girl's filming says, "Filming my boyfriend before he sees me and after." I love those
Yeah.
kind. Yeah, they're so cool.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too. It just brings so much joy to see.
yeah, it really does. I like the ones of the old people too. I should say I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I'm 63. I'm probably getting close. But okay,
Older.
older. Well, I'm not on linear time anymore. I expect to live really over 800 years. That's what I've been. My soul's told me, so I'm going with that. But okay, well, let's formally roll this edition. We have not done three shows in a day in a long time. It's been over a year, maybe 2 years. But like I was telling our beautiful sister here, we're getting it going again. I feel like doing, one, two, maybe three a day, 5 days a week, maybe get up to 40 or 50 shows a month, and really get out there and start talking about everything that's going on, which seems to be, where we can get our greatest code from now. But let me just say thank you for coming in, Ixtah, and sharing space with me, sacred space, and opening up and being transparent, vulnerable, and authentic, and just being open and coming on. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Evidently, we've been looking 6 years. It was the first time we tried to get together. But yeah, so thank you for coming in. I'm looking forward to this, and it's a conversation. It's not an interview, so I would imagine you'll do most of the talking anyway. But because we want to get to know you, everybody knows me, I guess. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything like that, it's just a conversation. Two friends getting together, and just
Awesome.
happen to be a bunch of people watching. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for calling me in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
been a
so I
while.
think you're in Australia now, right?
I am. Harvey
Yeah.
Bay.
Oh, you're in Harvey Bay. Okay. Yeah, you're over there with
Yeah.
Sasha Grace and a bunch of other people. No, Harvey Bay. No, no, that's a different place. That's a different. I was thinking of Byron Bay. I was thinking of Byron Bay.
That's south from here.
I know where Harvey Bay is. Yeah, I'm familiar with that very much.
It's just
Um,
north of Brisbane.
yes, and I noticed that, and I don't remember it all verbatim, but you are of Australian descent and I believe South American descent or something like that, and you
Yeah.
lived in Uruguay. Um,
Yeah.
like what? Because I mean, that's pretty interesting to me. Somebody that's been in the northern hemisphere who's traveled around a little bit, but you're both South America and Australia, and it sounds like you have some bloodlines there or something. Just kind of in a general description, how did this all happen? Did you were you born in South America or were you born in Australia?
No, I was born in Sydney
Okay.
and lived there until I was 11.
Mm,
My parents are from Uruguay, they're Uruguayans. And they, at that age, in 86, decided to go back for them, the first time for me.
mm,
Um, and it was a one-way ticket. We were going to live there. So I finished off to primary school over there and did all of high school over there. And I had a couple of soul explosions coming towards the end of high school, realizations, observing myself, um, and in the society. So I had never thrived so much. Like my soul came awake when I landed there at 11. It was incredible. And but by the time I was finishing high school, I realized that a lot of my way of thinking was instilled by Australia, by
yeah.
the Australian culture. and I clashed a lot. I suffered. I didn't clash actually because I didn't tell anybody anything, but
mm,
I suffered internally at, watching people with the mentality of not caring for their environment or, um, just throwing trash just as they're walking down and just throw it on the side on the sidewalk. And I'm like going, you know, I'm like, I can't deal with this. And it just
mm.
I started noticing that I would get really frustrated at the ways of being. So much soul, but like not very conscious. Strange thing to say. Like there's depth, but there was no awareness or habits or good habits, I suppose, in pure consciousness. So I remember my mum having a conversation with me going like, either you have to accept this because it's not healthy for you to live angry, or you got to go back. And so I saved up my money and I came back to Australia and came back on my own, left everybody, my whole family, all my best friends, my soul connections, everything is very strong over there, still is. And but I came back to Australia, and obviously retrospect says a lot in time,
Mm, mm,
and I know that this is where my spiritual journey was going to happen, where it had the wing expansion ability. The
mm.
rest was up to me, but um, it's a place where, if you want to be a pilot, be a pilot. If you want to be, I don't know, I don't know, paint yourself in blue and walk down the street, you can, you know.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
so that was that part of my life. And so I came to Australia, and, I've always gone back every 10 to 11 years, it seems to happen. But I'm trying now that we just went in February this year. I'm like, I can't do that to myself anymore. It hurts me. It hurts me to be away for so long. So, yeah, we're going to try and make it happen every 3, 4 years. I don't know. Time flies so fast now that it's almost impossible. You don't realize that a few years have just gone by. So I'm in the here and now, and when it takes me there, I'll go.
Isn't that the truth? Somebody was talking about a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about, I used to be in the corporate world, and I was a high level manager, and I could handle like 10 or 12 different projects and things every day and get all this stuff done, and now I can only get one thing done a day. It was like, I think that's one of the characteristics or symptoms of what's happening with time. Like it's a weird, we've been talking about this for, I would think, probably going back to like late 2019. We're talking about this. Um, but I don't know. It's just it's such a new world. I mean, you just got back, you said in February, right? Was that right?
Yeah,
Do you,
got
do
back.
you, do you,
We were there mid March to sorry, mid February to end of March. So end of
okay, you
March.
were there. Okay. Do you feel like that something has drastically changed in 2025? Like since the solstice of 24, Do you feel like do you feel,
I feel like every year has been intense lately. Like I can think of I was having the same thoughts I'm having now. I was having them last year. But this year I feel like I knew in December of last year that the first 6 months I was not going to see them go by. I knew. And I said to my partner, I was like, when we get back from that trip, it's literally going to be work mode, like the office, this, that, and then it's just going to be mid-year.
yeah,
So said and so done. It's been massive.
yeah, yeah, and I knew like in mid-May, I knew it was going to be a hot summer. In fact, in 24, I remember like in the say September, October, I remember getting, you're going to have the same patterns you had before in these previous years, except for you're not going to have the resistance, like the distortion will
Yeah.
be less. Uh, and then when May came, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be a hot summer. And for me, it started on June 1st. It just was like boom. Like I looked out my window, I lay down at midnight on June the 1st as the clock struck 12, and I looked, I heard this noise, this boom, like this big, deep explosion, and it was storming, and the power does go out here, even when it's not storming sometimes. But it made me look out the window. And I looked out the window and I saw this orange, like fireball. It was an explosion, like a portal opened. And where it was located, it wasn't something on the ground, obviously. So I don't know. And I feel like that the truth is really being revealed at warp speed this summer. It feels like it to me. I don't know about you. How do you feel about it?
I have to agree. Did you say that was the 1st of June?
Yes, 1st of June.
Yeah, that was a massive, massive day. It started the day before, went into full downloads, and on the 1st, it was
Yeah.
just like I had walked through something, a
Yes.
door. It was definitely a portal day,
The
even though
crazy.
generally we wouldn't say that is, but
Yeah,
it
I
was.
wouldn't either, but I saw it. And I thought it was just for me, but then I started talking to a few people like you, and they were saying, "Oh no, that was a huge day." See, that was a Sunday here, and it was like you, a couple of nights before, it was like, well, that would have been the 30th, right? I went out into the courtyard late at night and I looked up and I saw the planet or the star Aldebaran, which has been really kind of symbolic for me. Like I don't understand it, but I'll see it and I'm like, oh no, something's about to happen. And I saw it that night. I saw it the next night before I went to bed. And the crazy thing is that if I go back 14 years to 2011, the things that were happening were the exact same things happening 14 years before.
Wow.
Like it was so, and it was just like that. What I was told, you're going to see the same patterns, kind of extrapolated, uh, but it's not going to be the same. Like you're going from a loop to a spiral. You
It's
know?
spiral. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that can't just be me. I know that. There's no way. Yeah.
Oh, well, as you're speaking, I am remembering that a beautiful brother of mine messaged me that the work that started, I'm starting to remember back. 'Cause sometimes you ask me what I ate yesterday, and I have no idea. Like time is like it's irrelevant. Like any
Right.
information that's irrelevant, like
Right.
I have to actually go back into the feeling of the moment, and then I start like quantumly accessing the memory of that time. But if it was irrelevant, forget it. There's no feeling about it. So as you were speaking, I was remembering that this beautiful brother of mine on the 1st, he said it anchored, and I can't remember exactly what he spoke of, but um, what started at the solstice anchored by the 1st.
Right. Right.
And I think that that's the transition that we were feeling, whichever way that we were living it individually.
Yes. That
But
that
yes, it was a
that
big
yeah.
joy.
That makes sense to me. And even if yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And the other distinction for me was December 21st, 2024, the solstice. Um which I didn't even realize it at the time, but that was 12 years from when the 2012 December 21, right? So my soul told me, and I started saying this like early this year, it started to come to me that, it wasn't about me, it was about us, right? All of us. And it was saying, you act in the period of that 12 years, whether you were awake for 3 years or the whole 12, or you were 20 years before that. But then in that period, we actually came and achieved what we set out to do. So, like for instance,
Mm.
like for me would have been Soulogy, or for you a practitionership or a modality. But these things that we were receiving with our downloads, you might say, and then going out there and purposefully making them happen, and that we'd actually achieved it, and that this next 12 we would be, kind of like kind of doing the same thing, but at a higher awareness and with no resistance. As long as the inner transformation continued to expand, then you would be like on the yellow brick road, even if the distortion gets louder. So I don't know if that's, but to me, that distinction of the solstices is big, really big.
That makes sense to me because if I go back to that moment of December 2024, um, a very big chapter ended for me. And it felt, in all authenticness, I felt like I was going and experiencing wrath and fire dragon, but it was this um just almost like the sword, and I was done with the whole big chapter of energies, and a lot of people dropped out of my sphere at that point. And it was this shift, and it's not, I love them all, as they all gave me whatever they like. I love them all.
Mm,
Um, but it was like, but I felt I was ripped, almost like, and that I think that's what caused the like type of anger, and it was also very intense leading up to the 21st.
mm,
So, and it was almost containing. It was like a volcano after that. I just needed to be alone. And I was like, and
mm,
Christmas is coming. So that's really hard to do, you know. And so I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through Christmas. But it was like almost like an entire plane detached,
mm-hmm.
a frequency band detached. It wasn't just a moving into another, it felt like everything, and
Mm,
there's no time to do it gently, is how I felt.
mm, mm.
And oh, that was an intense time.
That's fascinating. Um, it's so funny when that's why I love doing the show, because you're talking to somebody, then all these things come to you, like you were just happened with you.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here going, gosh, she's describing my summer, because that would have been your summer there, right? That would have been
Yes.
okay. So, and I'm like, that's weird. Like even the buildup, it's like they're both. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I feel a lot of what you're saying. To me, the what was the winter solstice for me, summer for you, I felt something, and it was like and from there it was a gradual buildup, and it was so clear to see. But on the first, it just blew up, like you said, like a whole plane of existence was the rug was taken out from under you. And and I've been saying this for quite a few months, and it's obvious. It's not because I'm smart or anything, but so many people during this time, and we've done it before in the past because we were all hermits at times and we didn't want to go out and be around crowds and all that. But so many people are in a forced isolation, or an isolation, kind of like what happened to me here. I didn't know I was going to be here, you know. I didn't know. All of a sudden, I'm here, and it's just me, and I'm like, oh my God, all right. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of what I call universal isolation, where you can develop this constant communion. And I think for me, what I'm getting and what I'm seeing is that people that the unveiling is happening here. Like even if you
Yeah.
live with someone, or I mean, it's all about you, and the universe is not giving you any more wiggle room. All the doors are closing. You got to look at you, and I'm seeing a lot of people go through that, and like you said, it's not all fluffy love and light. It's hardcore uh, honesty of the soul, but on the other side of it, it's huge. like, there's a direct relationship to my sensitivity, my experiences that people might call psychic, that occur as I walk through these truths, these hard truths. Let's put it that way.
Yes. I was just having a conversation with a lady at a shop 2 days ago, and talking, I don't even know how we got there. I never know how we get there, but um, talking about that humans, like it's a universal law that as deep and dark as you can go in life on your journey, you've also got available to you the equal and opposite of heights, of bliss.
Mm,
And, and it's up to us to see the person that is maybe on the streets on drugs. And if they can just have one moment where it cracks and the light drops in and they can start wiggling through and climbing out of the deep, dark hole, no matter what the situation is, whether
mm,
it's mental health or, don't know, deaths in the family, whatever it is, loss. At the end of the day, it's loss of something,
mm,
loss of identity, loss of many of things. If we can find ourselves out, it's up to us that are now have, and I know a bit of your story, but it's up to us that have now been in those deep, dark places to
mm.
remind, just a reminder, don't tell them how to get out because we don't know how they're going to get out. They will know how they get out. But just even if it's just a moment or a word or something where it's like it's dark there, but if you can crawl and breathe one breath at a time, one group at a time, and sometimes you slide down and then you get back up again and you keep on going. And there's the equal, because when you're there, you can't imagine bliss. You can't imagine
Mm-mm.
a life filled with light.
Mm.
You just can't. You're not meant to, because you're meant to feel the depths of all of that fully.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's good if we can remind sometimes when we have the opportunity of whatever is in front of us to have that 2 seconds for someone and just go, it's hard and it's dark, but if you just take one breath at a time, one step at a time,
Yeah.
as deep as you have gone, you have the equal heights available to you, you
Mm.
know. And I think it's a big thing right now because I guess where I'm at, I've been through all of that. It doesn't mean that there's not days that you go down, because this is eternally lifting. It's a never ending. Um, you know, 3 days ago, I was sobbing in my meditation room,
Hey, you're not the only
sobbing
one.
for
You're
half
not the
an
only
hour.
one. You're not the only one. And I'm going, what the hell am I crying about? But I think there's so much to what's happening now. There's like multiple streams, you know.
Yeah,
It's like physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, multidimensional,
definitely
elemental. I mean,
multidimensional.
there's all these different things, right? And I really appreciate what you're saying too, because I don't know. Now listening to you, I'm going, well, I wonder, and there's so many narratives too. Like there's too many narratives. Like, this happened and that happened and this is how you do it, and like you were saying. But I wonder if, and I'm not saying this is the truth, I'm just saying I wonder if it's something like the first wave was around 2012. And what you're describing is what I went through, what you went through, and probably everyone listening went through in that space where it is dark, but something was awakening us at the same time, you know? And
That's it.
maybe that's what's happening now for us, the next wave for ourselves, but also collectively, a second wave is coming through now. And I think the way you explained it would be the way to explain it to a person, because it's kind of like when somebody goes through something and you're like, oh well, get over it, like, you know, F off, like everybody does it at their own pace. And I don't know about you, but this new energy this year, especially this summer, has put me in the frame of mind like never before to stay in my own lane. I'm not one that goes and sticks my nose in other people's business or
Mhm.
offers advice. but I'm even more careful now. I'm like, you know what? Todd's a full-time job. Like I need Todd here present 100% all day long, every day. So I'm real careful about, like, if I'm not doing the show, I probably have talked to maybe, maybe 8 people this year. Okay. And I bet you 5 of those have been since June 1st. Like I don't even talk to people. I'm like so into, like just trying to be with myself. And I can't even tell you what the hell the conversations are. I mean, there's some epiphanies come through and memories come in and you get a review and you kind of go, oh, okay, I got it, or you have the bliss moments. To me, it's like wordless, it's like
Mm.
taking a walk to the beach over here and sitting down, and pop open a beer just to sit there and watch the sun go down. And all of a sudden I feel something behind me and there's a dog licking me, this big dog, or animals being attracted to me or, I don't know. There's something else going on here, that to me feels like there's less distortion and less resistance against our efforts. You know, I don't know. That's
I
kind
have
of.
to agree with that, especially since the first. I mean, it's been mostly this year, extra since the 1st of June,
Mm,
that, that when the universe, or at least for me in my journey, it has been that the field is very much what speaks to me and is a reflection. And I get all my messages through the field.
mm,
Um, and if I ask something, the clouds or the birds, flight answers in a way that I actually understand. Um, and when something comes up for me to face of my own, and it's clear as day in the field, I see it. But I guess because I've been doing it for quite some time, but I learned to not fear it. I like lean against the pain, like lean against it, feel it fully. Think nothing of roses and beautiful, nothing. No, no, no. Go at it. And just drop. You're not even going at it, really. You're just dropping in it and
mm,
feeling it fully in your body, and you're absolutely enveloped in it. And then you have this coming out realizations, all the aha moments, all the connections to past moments in which it connects, and so it creates a pattern. You go, oh, time for that pattern to go. Um, and they what I say is there little moments in time that once they actually connect and you see them from a higher perspective, they become pearls. And it's almost like making pearl necklaces, pearl chains, like, and just letting them go, because that's just become part of your consciousness now. It's just you've understood
mm.
it. But that process since the 1st of June is effortless, like you say, in the sense of I am not trying to even think or assess or nothing. It's literally I flow from one state to the other, to the other, to the other, and boom, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, just as I'm out, I could be back in.
Yeah.
you know,
No,
3 hours later is up the next layer.
no, I feel like that's very accurate. We were just talking about this on the previous show, but I remember we tried to get together in 2019, so that was 6 years ago, and I remember distinctly in late 2019, I started to sit with my feelings. So if I was angry, I would sit on the bed and just sit there and be angry instead of trying to fix it, or
Mm.
ignore it or medicate it or whatever. And I think that what you're talking about and what the previous guest was talking about was sitting with these events and sitting with these revelations of what we didn't see in ourselves. I call it the fool, or going, oh my God, I was stupid, but it's not a bad thing. I'm not like mad. I'm just going, oh my God, this is crazy. But it's such an experience of epiphany or discovery that the stupidity or the ignorance or the unconsciousness of it is immediately neutralized because you're so light. You know what I mean? And the other way I look at it too is like, like, I mean, I raised a lot of hell in my life, and I did quite a few things. I never really hurt anybody, but I did crazy things, right? And I would look back and go, oh my God, you know, um, wow, and there would be shame or whatever the case is. And now I look back at it and I look at it from the soul's perspective, and I think, oh my God, you're kind of ballsy, dude. Like, you wanted to get, like you were saying, you can only go as high as you've gone low. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so when the human judgment system is removed within ourselves, we can then
Yeah.
really appreciate and really understand that it's not the light that we came for. We actually came to discover a greater light through our darkness, if we want to use these terms and not get caught up in what the human thinks they mean. You know what I mean? But to me, they're a part of me. Like you said, they're a part of your consciousness. They're a part of me. I'm not pushing them away anymore. I'm accepting them and I'm actually loving them, you know? So I feel like that's the way you describe that. And that's also something I feel, even though I haven't had a lot of conversations with people, I feel like this is the kind of thing that's happening to people.
I think it's really important. This takes me to something that I expressed to a friend a couple of days ago. The transition for me, I was house sitting for a friend. She had dogs, chooks, cat, everything. And I was house sitting for her while she was gone on holidays. This was quite a few years ago. It had to be about 5 or 6 years ago.
Hmm.
And she, I sat in that kitchen, and in one of the evenings, I don't know, I can't remember what I was going through, but I got a very clear showing and I started drawing a battery, like a 9-volt battery. I wish maybe I can draw it, but with the
Yeah, like
two
the
with the
ones that
two
go
heads
on.
at the top.
Yeah, yeah, like the ones that go on the little radios in the old days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the plus and the minus are both at the top, the little tips. And I was just shown very clearly, I was explained duality versus polarity. And I drew the little thing and plus, minus, and I was seeing it all, and then I was drawing it. And uh, if the battery is just a battery, it's not good, it's not bad, it just is, right? Yet it
Hmm.
has a plus and a minus, and it moves and it does what it does because it moves electromagnetic, that's just how it's functioning. And we're kind of like that battery.
Yeah.
And the division, so they showed me the same image, but with a crack separating the plus and the minus. So then there became, because it was just a positive and a negative charge, it was just a charge. And then they showed me, then all of a sudden, by being separate, it became positive and negative, and then the adjacent good and bad
Mm. Mm.
came overlaid after the separation. And the reason for that is because the positive, which is the feminine, and it's the power, not dark,
Hmm.
power, full power, which is like the womb, the feminine, all of that. And the masculine, the negative charge is electric, it is the light, it's the information. And so they were showing me that power without light information, i.e., organic light information, can become misused and ignorant because it's separate
Hmm.
from its information to give
Hmm.
it a purposeful and intentional movement. So that power can become greed and all of those things that we experience in this world. And then the light, which is information, goes nowhere without the power that pushes it. So
Mm.
it's like the light workers that stay in a fluffy, duffy, and I'm not saying, but there is that section that instead of embracing everything, they're just focused on the light because they're actually afraid of the rest
Mm.
of them.
Mm.
And so it becomes, it's not going anywhere. It's not doing it. It's not cracking through. It's not doing anything because it's just information. What do you do with the packet information? Well, it's just there, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So it's about bringing the power back into with the information by them joining again. You become a powerful source conduit,
Yeah.
and you're no longer in duality, but you're in polarity.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
body is electromagnetic. We're definitely in polarity, but it's actually about every time. And it's not like, oh, I got nothing else to rejoin. No, that's what I'm constantly doing. Bringing the two together of what I didn't see of one or the other. Was it ignorance or was it, was it in blank or was it information, but it wasn't being pushed? And what have you done with that, kind of
Mm.
thing. So that's just a visual that I was just given to really understand the difference and how, because so many times my thing was I just asked, how did we get here? You look at this world, you look at this world and
I
you go,
think we've
how?
all done that since we were little kids. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah,
That's a really good visual though, because of the battery element, right? Um, okay, so you could take anything. For me, it's masculine, feminine. Like I start to come back out again in full force, and there's certain things like certain spaces that I would like to enter with someone like you, like right now, and have conversations that we haven't had before. Have the kind of conversations that are characteristic of the conversations we're having with ourselves between Big Todd and Little Todd, and everybody else is having their own, right? And and the reason I really like your example is because I see what you're saying. Like if these two aren't like if it's united, it's a force that you can't siphon that. It's part of the collective, unification, symphony of the universe, right? But when you have this belief that that one's that one and this one's this one, and then they start to develop identities and personalities, and that's what I see. I've seen, and anyone that's watched the show knows I support and give full credit to the sisters. And all you have to do is look at the makeup of all these groups like Soulogy. They're 70% sisters, and they used to be 90, so that's good news. The men are
amazing.
right, but what I'm saying is we've got to be careful what we're saying because it's moving into the central creator space, thoughts, words, actions. So, and we're a quantum thought reality. So if I look at you, or I'll turn it around, a lot of what you've heard, for instance, is, hey, what's wrong with the men? They need to hurry up, blah, blah, blah. And it becomes this imbalance. But in the same here, what I'm finding is on that, let's just say on that subject as an example, is that the things I'm starting to see in myself in men are the same things that the women have been saying. They've been saying, my voice isn't being heard. I've been suppressed. My energy's been siphoned. Okay. Same thing, different story. It looks different on the surface. That's all. And you got to remember, there's always a yin yang. So for everything that you see on one side, there's an equivalent on the other that you can't, you know? So I like the battery thing because it also kind of explains how this realm was set up, which was to siphon our energy, right? So you
Yeah.
can imagine if they can get someone to carry a charge, be it positive or negative, dark or light, all they got to do is create an imbalance. So let's say you become a multi-billionaire who in the beginning said, I'm going to become a multi-billionaire and I'm going to be the biggest philanthropist in the world. And as you start to get into that separation of me versus them, then you become too much light, and it gets sucked out, or the other way. You get sucked out because you're angry and you're emotional and sad and grief. And so I really like that. I really like that. And I believe if it's the Matrix, right? The movie The Matrix, where Morpheus
Mhm.
brings out the battery and shows him the battery and says, this is,
Does he?
yes, yes, he does. He doesn't use a 9 volt, but he uses like I don't know the battery sizes, but yeah, I
Oh
think
my God,
that's
I'm
a
gonna have to Google that scene
yeah, I think that's a
later on
really,
because I
no, it is.
don't
It's in
recall.
that scene, but I really think that's a good example because as much as we have discovered our souls, and as much as we have been able to expand our souls through our human experience, there's still a there is like a how do you say this? Do you know how as people start to expand, sometimes they go, "Oh my God, I think I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't have feelings anymore." It's almost like they lose the attachment to the human program, emotional programming, and they elevate to a higher element of, say, love. And like you were saying, you can see it from the higher vantage point. It's almost like that. Like I can see that, look at it more mechanical and less humanly, almost something like that.
I would say I would call it neutrality,
Mm,
like because you know that if you put this event into different aspects and you look at different layers, it'll be either good or bad, or
yeah,
good or
yeah,
bad. And it all really depends, good or bad for who as well. But you can come to the point of where you see it more neutral.
yeah.
And that's wholesome because it removes you from really judging it.
Mhm.
Um, it just is. And then you watch, will it have a consequence? Well, most things in this realm have a type of consequence. And then you just observe
Yeah.
what that next rollover consequence is. Um, yeah, I do think that you come to that. It's not that you're not feeling, but also unconditional love
Yeah.
is not attaching to
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad. It's
Well, that's what I
again
was
just
trying to say.
is.
Yeah, about the battery thing and like using the thing of the masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
So it's like, and here's a better example. Okay, let's say that you triggered me or I triggered you. Okay, we're just having a conversation and we trigger
Yeah.
somebody triggers somebody. Uh, if I trigger you or you trigger me, that doesn't mean you're my opponent or my adversary or my
Yeah.
enemy. Okay, so a trigger and an activation start to be seen as the same thing. And, another way to put it would be, we put all these boundaries up as we were finding ourselves. Well, now it's obvious in unity consciousness, you can't have walls. So I think
No.
another thing that's happening in this second 12 years maybe is that um, the third energy or the Holy Spirit or whatever you want to call it is assisting us. It's there. It's showing itself in the sense that there is cooperation, co-creation trajectories that are occurring. And so I'm just trying to identify it. But to me, that would be a really good example. And I had this happen to me the other day, and the person asked me about it, and I said, "Listen, I get it, you know, but that doesn't mean I'm your enemy because what
Mm.
I shared was from a pure intention. It's from unconditional love, you know. Uh, so we're like the way we see things, the way we communicate, the way we connect, everything's changing because things are falling away. With us means they're going to fall away from the field. I
Yeah.
also think that's really interesting what you said. And I can relate to you doing this show all these years. I've always known, just for myself, I can read the field. Like I can go on a show and I can feel the audio, I can feel things, right? And so that's what you said. That's the way you operate. And I'm wondering, is that going to flip? Are we going to start to get it from here? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like we got the downloads and all that all these years, and now it's like, are we in the driver's seat now? Like, are we the ones that are sharing the code coming from the real time experience?
Hmm, that's a really good question. But I felt that in my experience of reading the field, it literally is the frequency of me bouncing into this plasma space, projecting itself for me to see on the outside, to then
Ah,
come back in and resolve. So it's never that I'm looking, the answer was in the clouds because the answer was inside of me. And I called it out, asking it, consciously
yeah.
asking it. And it evolves itself into my answer, but
Mm,
it's almost my resolution that already was inside of me. I believe that if to me, my experience, my journey has been that everything is frequency. And and I don't just say that. I didn't read that. It's not a, I know that we're getting to the spaces now where it's more common than 14 years ago when my really in-depth journey started. But I literally responded to nothing except frequency.
hmm
So, and we can go back to that, but to not lose sight of what we were saying, I feel that I'm such, I function from that space, and not everybody functions from the same space. It's like, food, what's good and what's bad for someone, don't box it. It's just, it is however their makeup, their template, their codes, so they will express and communicate and receive and flow differently. But in my case, everything just came back to frequency.
hmm
And all I had to was think something and or see something, it would literally jam up against me and go shatter the moment of realization. I'm like, that's me. I need
There you
I
are.
need to I need to look at myself in that. And of course, the field is made up of the collective and everything, but the ones that you will see and attract are the ones that match you.
Yeah, it's
So
your
they are
reflection.
also correct. It's your reflection.
Yeah,
So also, when you ask something, it kind of like, it's like a breath of frequency, a wave, and then it just comes back
yeah, yeah,
in my
yeah,
how I experienced it.
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And even when you go back to that example you were giving about like seeing somebody that's homeless on the street, or like like with what I did, and you were saying like, what could you say to them, or what happens? To me, that's where it starts. Like where it starts is when you ask, tell me something. What the hell's going on? Show me something. Like I know, you know what I mean? And that's what it is. And that's what starts to happen is you start to get the reflection, not only in the physical experience, but also in the multidimensional uh, experience. And for me, I would say interdimensional, because some things seem like the characters
Finger.
are in my body, right? Um, but I feel like that's a really important thing. And I'm just happy that I remembered that, because I'm going to keep that in mind. But another thing that's kind of changed now, because and I didn't know that yours was 14 years ago. Mine was 14 years ago on May the 30th, at 1:11 in the morning. But which is
Of
interesting.
2011 or 2012?
2011, 2011.
Yeah, so mine was October 31st,
Okay.
2011.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh my God, and on October, that's Halloween. So on October the 31st, something happened to me
Yeah.
in
Oh,
2011. In 2011. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But anyway, uh, what I was getting at was, oh, okay. So like June 1st happened, boom, everything was different, everything changed. And I'm kind of like, okay, wow, and I'm getting the downloads. They're showing me the patterns of the 14, of an 11, other periods of time, like 3 years, five, and it was really intense for like a day and a half, a lot like an awakening that I had in 2011, right, 14 years before. But so then I would walk out into the street in this authentic little Mexican town, and all of a sudden it'd be a dog would come up to me, or a child would go by on a bike, or somebody would greet me, and then what you said happened, and then I was like, wait a minute, hang on a second, this is all me. This town is chill. It's inexpensive. It's beautiful. It's not in the big city. There's no commercialization. The beach is 2 blocks away. Wait a minute. So, it's almost like we were unconscious creators, and we've kind of like crossed over the halfway mark to conscious creation. And what that looks like and how that functions is nothing like what we did before. Because
Okay.
the battery is equalizing, right? In your example. I see it like a tractor beam or a power beam, like where
I
if
feel like
it's
once it unifies, it becomes that beam.
yes, yes,
Right?
exactly. Yeah. Cool conversation.
So
So
yours
how
was an awakening in 2011.
yeah, 2011.
Mm.
And then it's so funny you said October 31st. And see, that's another thing. I've been noticing this in conversations or otherwise, these physical, what I call physical synchronicities. It doesn't mean that anything but a shared physical synchronicity that's telling you you're on the right path, which is what a synchronicity does. So on October the 31st in 2011, I had been on the streets for, I don't know what, 4 months, 5 months, and I decided I was going to try to get off the streets. I needed to like get my act together, you know? And so I started working door to door selling meat products. And so, and they would pay you cash, it was kind of under the table. So one night, I had gotten a hotel room, but it was on the other side of town, 18 miles away. And they decided they wanted to go to the sports bar after we got off work, and I had a good day. So we go to the sports bar, and I had a few beers and whatever, and I was going through a lot of trauma, like a lot of us do, right, in those times. And I remember the date because it was Halloween, and it started to rain, and it was the first cold night in Houston. And I'm walking across this field in a warehouse district, and I did what we were just talking about. There was one tree. It's pouring rain. I don't have a coat. I'm freezing, and I kneeled down at this tree and I said, "Please help me." And I heard this voice go, "Walk to the last door on the right of this warehouse building." And there must have been like 50 doors. It was huge, like a football field. And I walked down to the last door, went up the stairs. It was a back door, like where they load. And I walked up the stairs and opened the door, and it opened. And then I went inside and slept on some boxes.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I forgot all about that until you said October 31st, 2014, 2011. Hmm. Do you find,
Yeah.
do you find, I notice if I look at the Soulogy demographics, like the cities, how many are male, female, the age groups, countries, and cities, that of the top, let's see, let me get this right. Of the top 10, it's either 5 or 6 are in Australia. You got Sydney, you got Melbourne, you got Brisbane, Perth, and I believe Adelaide's the other one, and there might even be another one. There is it common knowledge that there's a lot of people there, proportionate to the population that are kind of awake, would you say?
Yeah, and yet living in it, it doesn't feel like there's enough. Um, but I guess there is, because when it came to the um what are they called? When people go to protests and all of that, there was
Yeah.
thousands and thousands and thousands of people on the streets.
That was crazy. I
Um,
remember that.
we were many.
I saw that.
And
That was
and
huge.
and because we weren't really allowed to share anything, and it wasn't shared on TV or anything, of course not. Um, it was only going to these places that you realized you weren't alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was such, it was almost like you had to do it for yourself. To go to this was to go, I'm not crazy,
Right.
and then all the ones that were saying, I'm not crazy, we're getting together going, we're not crazy, it's like going, and it's
Right.
such a relief to be there. My almost, well, she's 80 this year, so she would have been 75, 76. My mother, and people would just gather around her and grab her and hold her hand and walk with her because she's sort of like little white hair old lady, just this cute little thing, just going there.
Wow.
She didn't have anything written, but she was like with everybody in the middle of it. Sometimes I was guided not to go and to sit on the outskirts and do
Mhm. Yeah.
energy protections
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
going to be needed. And so I'd sit outside. I'd be told exactly where I needed to sit, and but I wouldn't be in it. And so she'd just do her own thing and go on her own, and lots of people like that
Yeah.
that met other friends and made connections through these events because they were having something in common.
Well, I remember that, and obviously a lot of that was suppressed obviously from the internet and the media, but I remember it kind of like kept building and built, like they were doing it here and there and here and there, and then I think, if I remember correctly, they started marching every weekend on to Canberra. Is that your capital, Canberra, or whatever it's
Mhm.
called? And I remember the
Canberra.
numbers kept going up. I think the last week or the second to last week, it was like 750,000 people. And then I
Wow.
think eventually they turned on that technology and broke it all up and all that stuff. But
Radiation burns
yeah,
to,
yeah, that's
yeah, many,
yeah,
many, many things, which is why I was guided not to go.
yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, I was shown or I saw it. I don't know, either or, same thing. I saw it coming and it was a no-go. I'm highly, highly sensory and sensitive. So
Right.
what would burn one would probably, I'd end up being ashes. So,
Hmm.
and I've experienced these technologies, direct weaponry attack
Yeah.
myself in this lifetime. So that's why our whole conversation of getting together and talking was like, because we've had a wild ride.
Yeah.
And it's wild good, wild crazy, wild nuts, wild, yeah, just why in the end just say wild because you step back and going, what what did I sign up for?
See
Yeah.
that, you know what? I constantly remind myself since May 30th, 2011, of what you're talking about. Because when it's not so much a big deal anymore, but so when I start to, because sometimes you just get thrown into the human. It's like the human's all by himself, and you're like, where did everybody go? Um, but I always remind myself of the supernatural things, the psychic experiences, the divine episodes, the apparitions, the visitations, the shared experiences, the magic and the miracles. And I say that's not bullshit. Like that's real. And you bring up a really good point. And if you look at the indigenous cultures, they don't write anything down. Their consciousness is handed off generation after generation through oral tradition. And when you said what you said to me, I think, oh wow, that's where the gold is. And maybe that's why I do what I do, so people can tell their stories, uh, because there's a lot of gold there. And maybe the whole world's not ready for it yet, but I think they're getting close. I think they're getting close. Like I remember a
Mm.
lady one time wrote me a letter, and she said, "I just found your show, and I'd like to come on." And she said, no, no, she didn't even want to come on. She goes, I just found your show and I've been visited by, I think it was a unicorn since I was a little kid, elemental fairies and this
Yep, yep.
unicorn. Yeah. And she said, but I tuned into your show and some lady was talking about how she was having galactic visitors since she was a kid, going into spaceships. She goes, I never had anything like that, but I knew that I'd be okay in this place because people can talk about their experiences. I really feel like more people will talk about their experiences the more they realize everybody has them.
Yes, that's how I got on here. That's how we ended up connecting this last time. I think it was October last year that you put out a post going, okay, I'm back.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm back, and who's ready to talk about their
yeah,
weird and wonderful experiences being human and
yeah.
multidimensional? And when I'm like going, whenever you're ready, because yeah,
So uh,
it's
I know everything is becoming more singular and we're embodying, but we all have a lineage. Like we all have certain affinities and resonations with certain parts of our lineage. Uh, how is it for you? Or what do you feel like? Not that it's like you're comprised of everything. I get that, but do you have like a strong galactic connection or particular lifetimes or planetary or is there certain things that really speak to you?
maybe I'll start by how it started happening. Um, just to put context, because it didn't, my experience is extremely visceral. I don't receive just information. It goes through me, it happens. I decode it somewhat in the sense of you kind of start understanding whether it's within hours or days or weeks. And then eventually I might get guided to go and look for something, a particular. All I have to do is put a couple of words and I kind of see it in my mind's eye of what I have to put into Google and it comes up, right? Um, but how it became said, it started within October 31st. I was working in a normal office, 3D life, as 3D as it can get. and
Mm.
um, and I think those I've got a pair of shoes over there of stilettos that I'm never going to wear again, and that I love them so much. But I'm like going, they're just pretty, and I just look at them because it's just my other life within this life,
Mm.
and I embrace it because I when I look back, I do know what I was doing. I was weaving unconsciously,
Mm.
and that's beautiful too. But it was time, I suppose, spirit decided, and I went to work as a normal day, and yeah, I was typing in this office away, had a couple of cramps in my hand, and by midday, I had what nobody knows what it was, but my hands cramped up like this, and they were like that for the next 2 years ish.
Wow.
And um,
Isn't there a name
I
for
went,
that? Isn't there a name for that? Um, oh God. I remember a few years ago when I was first getting into this that was happening, that people were talking about that. And I remember reading something about that light workers or starseeds specifically were targeted, and that was one of the symptoms. But go ahead,
oh,
keep.
I've never heard of this.
I'll remember the name of it in a minute because a couple of my friends had it. Keep going. Yeah.
So, oh wow. Oh, I'm interested now. So, so anyway, I was a medical mystery. I had symptoms of 5 different things, but I didn't have conclusive anything.
Hmm.
So they put me under the RSI umbrella and kind of, off you go because we don't know. We've done every test under the sun. So
Hmm.
um, I obviously first I was married at that time, and I went through absolute anxiety because your life just was frozen. I don't even think it starts falling apart because you're frozen. because you can't do and be anything that you are. So all the worries about finances, everything that you can put on the plate that is involves in your life was coming at me. So that was the anxiety, massive anxiety first. Then I went into depression because then I felt like, well, I've lost everything that I was, like as a wife, as a friend, as a student, as a worker, as, you know, like there's so many aspects that I can't actually physically embody anymore.
Mm, mm,
And so massive ego death,
mm.
and a very big moment of having to find worth in myself, even if I do nothing for anybody. And because at that stage I had my mum coming home with like food because I couldn't cook, I couldn't chop, I couldn't hold a glass of water, I couldn't hold my fork. So
For
everything
two
was through
years?
straws,
For 2
soups.
years.
Yeah,
Wow.
ish. Yeah.
Because the cases
And
I heard about, they weren't like that. But I mean, like you literally just instantly froze up and that was it for 2 years.
instant. One moment I drove home and thank God my car is auto, and I drove home from Brisbane to where I was, which was about 45 minutes away, like this. I was absolute, like, it was a waterfall coming down my eyes. And I was just trying, and I was just telling my team, I know I'm not really behind the wheel. Please drive for me. Like, be aware, like, keep me where I need to be safe, because I was behind the massive amounts of tears, the pain, because the pain was excruciating. It felt like I got sliced here and something pulled, like, and so if this was not bone, it would have been a whole entire C shape. So fast forward all past the depression, I start waking up every day going, I don't know why I'm here. And I've always known there was more to life, but I was just doing 3D life because I still didn't know why I was here. That was me since I was 6, that I can recall asking, why was I here? And observing other people's behaviors and going, huh, really? Why would you do that? And so it's like, I was 6. I actually remember. And, you know, it came to this point where I had a whole bunch of time to observe, observe myself and what was my life. And, you know, my marriage at that stage was a little bit on the rocky road. And, you know, a big health issue like that is like having a baby. It's a stressor.
Yeah.
So we separated. Love him to bits. He's a soul that decided to give me 10 years of his life. So I will forever be grateful. You know, like, we walked together. So but things weren't working, and obviously we needed to go our own separate ways. And with that, I just started waking up every day and say, just show me my next step. Just show me my next step, because I can't even fathom what my life is going to be like or what it's meant to be like. I have zero vision. Don't ask me what I'm meant to be doing in a month's time or even in a week's time in the state that I was. So just show me my next step. And I was guided to be in different places and spaces. And one day after 2 years, I went to this light workers expo kind of thing, where there was readers and this and that. And I had been several times there, and I actually was helping the guy, we're just volunteering for him to give myself something to do at that stage, because I had exited the 3D world and working. But this guy who was the organizer, I was just helping him at the door, just greeting people. It didn't require my hands. It didn't require anything. And at that stage, they weren't still like this. They had metal splinters trying to straighten them out. But like, if
Ooh.
I took the metal splinters off, my hands would naturally go like that. Like the pain, and I just couldn't, you know, really still grasp or anything. It's almost like it was forced push straight. But so I go to this one expo, and I decide I'm not going to go around and do the rounds because there's nothing for me to see. I know all the people, the tables and everything. But something makes me go when I'm just catching a break, go down this one place. I was like, why am I getting guided to go there? And I go in front of this woman. And anyway, long story short, she did a form of frequency homeopathy. I call it frequency homeopathics nowadays. So essentially, again, the only thing that could heal me was frequency. And this has been
Wow.
my road. Because I had tried, prior to this event happening, I had studied in 2007 naturopathy, never finished it. Halfway through, I realized my answers to my bodily stuff weren't there. I already was very healthy, aware, conscious of herbs and nutrition and all of that. So I left it, went to a bit of kinesiology, and then I had a bit of a empty bank account. So that's why I went to work in an office. And then this happened. So,
Oh,
and so,
wow.
um,
That's interesting. I thought that that's how it started, but I wonder, listening to you, if you started something, you know what I mean? Like with what you were studying, and then regardless of why, you went back into the other thing, you know what I mean? And it was like the jolt. Yes, 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 yes. Okay.
yeah.
Makes sense.
And the beautiful thing was that it was I'm going to say it out loud, it was a debt collections agency,
Hmm.
um, the biggest one in Australia, by the way. And I was in the investigations team, so it was just that. Um, but the most beautiful thing, I just have to share this, was that 6 months prior to this event happening, um, I knew I was going to leave. And I was like, yeah, I'm ready for something new. I'm ready for something new. And I started looking and applying for places, and never in my life did I apply for places and not get it. And I don't say that egotistically. I mean, you apply for two or three and you're so passionate about it that I come so across that I'd either one or the other, something along the lines I would get, right? Everything was a no. And I was like, that's strange, but I know I'm leaving. And so I put it out there that every single being that really, really genuinely couldn't pay, that I would get their files and I would close them off and I would do everything in my power. So I was like trying to clean up and not leave those beings behind unattended.
Mhm.
And I mean, I got my supervisor, I remember going, what is going on with your accounts? Like, and so they started going through all of my accounts because it's not, in a random uh, shooting out of files to different people in teams, everybody gets a few that are wonky or a few that are successful, or, everybody gets a little bit of everything because it's just random sorting. But because I had kind of called something in, now I had all the non-payers and I was quite happy. So, um, I mean, I even had this old couple I remember that wanted to send me flowers and chocolates and begged me that to give them an address, but of course we cannot give your address out. So, um, but it was heart, it filled my heart to do that.
That's
And
wild.
then boom,
That's
boom,
wild.
I was
I
kicked out. Yeah.
I worked part-time years ago in the 80s, in a collection, a small debt collection. And
Mhm.
anyone that knows anything about that business, it's rough. That is a rough, dark, dark. And even if you investigate the legalities of it, I know in America, I can't speak for Australia, it's all presentation that they don't even have the authority to do it.
Exactly.
There's all these
Exactly.
legal hoops you got to go through. So, like listening to you and seeing frequency, right? Seeing energy, like I wonder, like if, almost like you went in there and pissed the dark gods off or something. So, but it's a perfect setup too, though. Like I know it's certainly much easier to talk about these things, in hindsight, but
Yeah.
because they were so real as it was happening. But guy, that's I think when we get to the other side and we're gonna be able to look at these things and see the entire story, including the things that we haven't
Yes.
been able to see, it's going to be a really interesting, probably humorous uh, movie review. You know?
Yeah. you're reminding me about the DAF because I didn't really see this company. They trained us, and there was no aggression, no, when the way that they trained, it was about speaking to people, and there was a lot of honoring. Actually, I felt it was very strange, and when I got the job, I was more in the being the one that had to think outside of the box. Somebody that's been MIA for the last 8 years, and there's
Mm,
no track of anything.
mm.
So, but I remember, this is not pretty, but it's real. Um, I remember that every single day by midday, between midday and 1 o'clock, I'd have to run to the toilet and I'd get the runs.
Yeah, yeah.
And um, it was only when, like maybe a few years ago, I realized that I used to clear because there was so much heaviness and density, and people also going for the money and pressuring people, because there was only a few of those that came from the doghound style,
Mm,
and they were just like, maybe I could even remember three in an office of 100 people,
mm,
because the way that we were trained was not to be like that.
mm.
um, because it's a very big company and known and whatnot. So uh, yeah, that was an intense time, and I definitely was there cleaning up, even energetically, that it
Yeah,
would run through me that by midday every single day. Um, so,
yeah.
but
That's
then
wild.
I came across this woman with the frequency homeopathics, and within 3 weeks, Todd, of me doing this detox on a frequency level, I regained full function on my hands.
You
Three
got to be
weeks.
kidding me. So, was she using tuning forks, or what was she using?
So she uses a single-handed rod just to read the biofield. It's what I do now as well.
So,
Obviously, anything
what's
like that in our life is
what's
what we've been taking.
so what's the component? You
A
said she.
single-handed rod.
Oh,
It's
just
just it's
one.
a rod, but it's a single-handed rod. It's basically a yes or a no, and it just guides you because you're the one that asks the
Oh,
field
I
of this
see.
person, and
Okay,
you're taking out
okay.
all the information.
So your soul, through the the human experience, basically brought you back to you, because this is the basis of your practitionership, is to
Yeah,
utilize. Do you want to do you want to like come back on next month and talk about this? Talk about,
sure.
we still got about 10. Well, I'm keeping you longer than I'm supposed to, but if you got 10 more
Oh,
minutes, we can keep talking a little bit. But would you like to come back? I've never actually, 4,000 plus shows, I don't think I've ever actually talked to anybody. I have met people, like when I was traveling and doing shows and, with people, and, they would have these different techniques and stuff. But I think it would be interesting for people to hear exactly what you do, and maybe even do some kind of demonstration.
yeah,
If you're
absolutely.
up to it, if you're up to it.
Absolutely can do.
Okay.
100%.
So three
100%.
weeks,
It's
three
time that
weeks.
it gets out there,
Yeah.
not for the sake of me.
No,
It's time that it
I
gets
know
out there so
exactly.
that
Yeah, I
people
get.
understand their
Yeah.
bodies, because
Yeah.
I don't promote anything. I don't, most people just come to me because the word of mouth or
Yeah.
fell in front of me.
No, no, I think what you're saying
But yeah,
is very true, and I remember, it was like last year, I got sick or something, I can't remember, and I started toning, and then I remembered, because I had a history of seizures, like I had like 150 seizures from like the age of 15 to 50, and I know that was some type of something going on, and what would happen is I would get nauseous. And if I couldn't get the nauseousness to settle, I'm going to have a seizure, right? And
seizure.
so yeah, I realized that when I was a kid, I might have been either having them or some kind of similar experience. And I used to tone. I'd be like, oh, where it would reverberate in my body. And then recently, I've started utilizing, I've done it before, but I've really started utilizing humming. And humming has helped me a
Me
lot.
too.
Okay. I just I just wanted to share that, because there's something to that, that, like you said, it needs to be heard now. Um, these things, it's not just the holistic practices of herbs and such that were moved away the last 100 years. It's actually goes back further. This is tonality, resonance, frequency, vibration. This is this is um, how they built the pyramids. You know what I mean? This is like,
I agree.
you
I
know,
agree 100% frequency.
yeah, yeah,
I was there last year in Peru and watching those things, and I was like, I could see
yeah,
how when they bulge out and they look like a bubble, they're so perfectly, and they're like buns, that baked
yeah,
together, and they're like
yeah,
buns, they're like bread buns that bake together, and they contain like that. I'm like going, it had to be frequency that then just expanded them and created what it
yeah.
created. Like,
Well, move. There's a dude in Florida, and I saw the story again a few days ago, but I'd seen it a couple of years ago, and it was legit. And I don't remember all the details, but this dude, and I don't remember how big the monolithic structure was, but it was big. I mean, it was like, like stones that were 2 tons, or like 4,000 pounds, or they were too big for machines, right? And I don't know what he did. I'm gonna have to look it up tonight. But he actually utilized some type of sound frequency technology to to maneuver these things. I don't know if he ever completed it. I think there were some issues with the government, and that kind of stuff that happens to people like that. But yeah, I think this is a good, so like getting back into this. I really I love the stories that people have, but I wanted to get back into it, and where people show up with no agenda. They're not looking to promote anything. And if it happens organically, that's fine. I'm just saying, to really serve, after we've been through the rinse and wash cycle a few times, and now we're in 2025, but to really serve the communities and the planet by bringing back this information, because I'm a big believer that, for instance, like in this example, you come back next month and you start sharing with us, right? It's going to ping people. People are going to remember things. Their bodies are going to, it's going to, like what happened to you when you went to the lady. 3 weeks later, all of a sudden you're fine. You know, like, how do you explain that? They couldn't even identify what your illness was, right? Like, so I think it's very important. I really do. And I thank you for it.
thank you.
Mm,
Yeah, absolutely. I do definitely, especially because we live essentially inside a toxic soup
mm,
bowl.
mm,
And it's not about, some people might not resonate with the way that I do the detoxing. Just it's more about understanding our bodies,
mm.
that to anchor the higher versions of yourself, your cellular structure needs to be rid of those much lower frequencies. Um, because if there's something that I've learned is that when, you can do a healing and bring in whatever, but that person eventually, and they feel amazing. But why does it after a week, it starts settling out?
It
It's
goes back.
because if they can't integrate
Yeah.
and fully anchor, they've only taken the feel good part and maybe anchored 20%, but had to let go of the other ones because their body can't anchor that light.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I love explaining, and whichever way you do it, it's the awareness that this ascension ascension is actually biospiritual.
Yeah.
It's not
Yes.
just fluffy. It's biospiritual, and that's what my journey has been about. Is about really understanding that it's both.
Yes. I agree with you. And I love this show. I love doing this because they're all connected. But I just talked to you the first show today, or the second one, and it was also something I was researching last night, something I came across last night. Because you hear about uh like you hear about spirit, or mind, heart's body. or spirit, soul, body. And the body part of it, we've heard a lot of things. You need to eat this way, or, you need to live this way, or, and it's kind of almost like religion, like pushing you to, you're not
Mm.
good enough, you're not good enough. But what I was reading last night and what I was having this conversation earlier was about this, that the body itself is, I mean, I'm just going to use my own words, is the soul. Like it is happens to be in physical form, but it has the attributes. It is able to regenerate. It is able to sustain a long life. It is able to instantly align and heal. It is able to teleport and bilocate. Okay. And these things that you're talking about in this toxicity with the chemtrails and the GMOs and the fluoride and all this. And by the way, we beat that. They can kiss our immaculate ass because we're overcoming them. But my point is that it
Yes.
has the physical vessel that we're utilizing in these incarnations to expand the universal and ourselves. This is kind of the narrative, but yes, we covered up, or the methods and practices that we've had since the beginning of time have been covered up through many different methods. And so, you know, I actually think that this might be the biggest subject that's out there now, is the capability of the body, is the true capability of the body. And I mean that, like to be able to function like I do in my lucid dreams. Like, hey, I want to go to the beach. I'm not going to walk. I'm going to fly, or I'm going to take a leap and I jump over 10 houses and I'm there, or I'm like, I really believe that. And it's such a mind game. This whole thing is a mind game. And I'm not to throwing any shade on it because I believe we all created it. But
Yes.
so in one way, it's genius, really.
We created it in our forgetting.
Yeah.
We created it by forgetting because we're superhuman. When whatever we've decided to imagine as just being human,
Mm,
it's almost like, but no, I think almost we need to change because we have being human here, but the
yeah.
capacity of a true human is enormous. And all we have to do, because we already are everything that you can be, it's just if you're not experiencing, there's just a lot of parts asleep, blockages on the road.
Mm,
Like, I don't believe anybody needs to activate or bring any particular codes from anywhere into my field, first of
hmm
all, because that wouldn't be what I consider sovereignty. But if I remove things out of the way so that my own codes and my own template starts activating,
Right.
and there's many templates, so the small one, then the big one on top, like
Right.
the Russian dolls, right? So there's different levels of templates, but as you're doing the work and you're removing and you're reintegrating that positive negative battery and you're reintegrating, this much bigger template and energy field starts activating within you, which is your interdimensional,
Yeah.
multidimensional, whatever. My experience is more interdimensional, but
That's what
um
I say. Yeah.
experience. And so it's really about remembering that if you're not experiencing that, it's just there's just blockages and parts
Yeah.
asleep, but it's all in you.
Yeah. I see it I've always thought this particular realm is like in the darkest corner of the furthest part of the furthest universe. And it's like a fishbowl that's been turned upside down. And so there's just this reality in here that's like totally different than everything else. Um, and so I picture it like say at the bottom of the dark ocean. We, you were there, I'm there, one of us is there, and we're like an orb just sitting there, and it's glowing, and then you start to have these things cover it. GMOs, fluoride, programming, things we don't even know about, just creating creating narratives and dialogues about the evils of AI or this or that or this. All these things are part of the of what's covering and shrouding our soul, basically, right? And so I agree with you. You know, it's not. It's coming from here. So as we shed these things, you know,
That's
then
it.
they start to come out. And that's why I was saying about the frequency and, that type of thing, the resonance and that type of thing is because, look, what do people hear now? Like since 2011, I'm hearing tones, right? To the point now where, okay, this is a feminine tone, this is a masculine tone. That's about 8 tones in one. Like there, you become like more familiar with them. So to have I really believe to have like the fusion of physical and non-physical. That's why I think the voice is so important. And I know the higher
That's
heart,
it.
but the voice because it carries non-physical properties, right? And it carries a physical property. Well, I see the same thing here. Somebody's seeing a mirror or a reflection of themselves who's demonstrating something that obviously worked for them, right? That they have some type of connection to, then they're meant to, in a purposeful way, to share. And so I've seen it happen too many times on the show, and then in the same pattern where somebody will go, wow. And then I'll run into them 2 years later, like, you know what? I was watching this show and I met so and so and I had a session and boom, 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 or, and so it only takes one. That's the thing. It only takes one experience, one soul, and we know one soul can light up the whole world. That's a fact. That's a
That's
fact.
beautiful.
It really is. And I feel like that's what, Jesus did or Amma does or Magdalene or Buddha or whatever. But this is a time where there's, who knows, millions and millions of that frequency in form, right? It's it's been really pleasure. I was a little bit concerned given the way the energies have been. I had to go for a walk after the second show in 34-degree weather with no wind, and I'm like nauseous. I'm like, am I going to make it to the ATM? and
Oh no.
uh, and so, but it's been a really, really fulfilling third show. The other two were nice, don't get me wrong, but it's been a really fulfilling show, and I'm really happy. Uh, and I'm just sharing it. I'm happy for myself to be able to get back into this and really feel it. And know that it's got some substance and it offers something to people. So thank you so much for sharing with me and with everybody else.
Thank you,
And
thank you,
I
thank you.
will contact you if that's okay, to schedule another show for August.
Yeah,
Okay. So you can share with
perfect.
us. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well, thank you and peace, blessings of peace,
thank
grace,
you
and
and
love.
blessings.
Yeah.
Yes,
And yeah, to you and
blessings to
yours.
all who are looking,
Okay.
watching
Yeah.
now and
Thank you.
future.
It's nice meeting you. It's a breath of fresh air.
Nice.
Take
Thank you.
care.
Same time.
Have a wonderful day. Okay.